In this very video, I am going to explain to you how diesel engine works. That is, the four strokes or the sequence in which diesel engine works. I'm going to mention the four strokes that makes your diesel engine work. Let's go straight to the point. The first one is intake. Intake. What is intake? Intake is the first stroke. At this point, your piston is at TDC level. TDC means top dead center. And I'm going to use my hand as a piston for you to really understand what I'm teaching you. When your piston is at TDC level, this is your your cylinder head now, and this is your piston. In your intake, when your piston started going downward, now as your piston is traveling downward, there is a vacuum in your cylinder that it is creating. At this point, your intake valve opens, and when it opens, that allows air to come into the vacuum or the space your piston vacated, because in your intake stroke your piston is going downward and the air has filled up the space that your piston created. That is your intake. Where does the air come from? The air comes from the atmosphere. If it is engine that use turbo, the turbo compress the air and send it right down to your cylinder. And at this point, your piston is at when your piston get to the BDC, bottom dead center, at that point it will start coming up again. Before it start coming up, remember your intake valve is open for that very cylinder. I'm going to use a cylinder to explain this. For that very cylinder, your intake valve is open, and that is what allows fresh air to come in. That is your intake. That is your intake stroke. Now let's go to our compression stroke. Remember, your piston started from TDC. It goes downward to create a space or vacuum that the air will come in. When it's coming up, it's compressing the air. Now the air has filled again, has filled there. When it's coming up, it's compressing the air. It's coming up, it's compressing there because it's reducing the space that the air occupied. And at this point, your two valves, both your exhaust and inlet, remain closed. And when it's coming, as it's compressing this air, it's compressing the air. That is your compression stroke. That is what referred to as compression stroke. We have talked about intake stroke, we are talking about compression stroke. Remember, in your intake strokes, your inlet valve is opened. But when it comes to compression stroke, when it's coming back again at the top center, as it's coming up, as it's compressing the air that was filled the cylinder, as it's coming up, your two valves were closed, both your intake and your exhaust valve closed. And at this point, by the end of your compression stroke, your nozzle atomizes. It is at the end of your compression stroke that your nozzle atomized or injected. I'll be using a very simple languages or term so that all of us can really understand. At this point, your nozzle in spray at the end of your compression stroke, it is this that force the piston to go downward again. Remember, intake, it goes downward, it sucks the air, it compresses the air. At the power stroke now, when your nozzle atomize at the end of your compression stroke, this force your piston to go downward again. That is your power stroke. As it's coming up now, your exhaust valve is open. The piston will now push the spent gas out because your exhaust valve is open, and allow the exhaust gas to go outside. That is how the 4-stroke engine works. Remember, we talk about its intake, compression, power, and exhaust. No matter how you twist the name, but that is the common name: intake, compression, power, and exhaust. If you know that I'm giving you value in this class, please give me thumbs up, because it is free, and subscribe to the channel, because in this channel I'm going to regularly coming up with things like that. I'll be teaching you, especially for beginners. I'll be teaching you about diesel engine. Please give me thumbs up. That will allow YouTube to rate me, and also subscribe to my channel so that you press the subscribe button. It is free. You are not going to be charged for anything. And after the subscribe button, you see the small bell beside it. That small bell, just press it too, so that me and you own the channel. So by the time I release another video, you will definitely see it. Because my next video, I'm going to talk about turbocharger. You are going to see how turbo works. So in this very video, don't forget what we talks about. We talks about the sequence in which this engine works: intake, compression, power, and exhaust. In your intake, your piston go downward, remember, and it's going downward. Your inlet valve opens, allow air to come in to fill the gap. As it's coming, it's compressing that air, because it's reducing the space, compressing there. When it comes up, your two valves remain closed, both your intake and exhaust valve closed. At that point, and by the end of the compression stroke, your nozzle atomize. When nozzle atomize, it forks your piston downward again. That's the power stroke, and the piston is coming up again. As it's coming up again, then your exhaust valve opens, allow the spent gas to go out. That is how the 4-stroke engine works. Thank you. My name is Mr. Engine Oluwaseyakituni. See you in my next video, where we are going to talk about turbocharger. Please do well to click subscribe so that you can know when I release or when the video is out. Thank you.